Why do some athletes seem built for their sport? This video explains it with anthropometry, the science of measuring the human body, height, limb length, body mass and body composition. These measurements reveal how your structure affects performance. Sprinters, swimmers, gymnasts and the like, their bodies give them unique advantages, and we are about to find out how. Let's immediately look at the basics and show you how standard anthropometric measurements require precise and standardized protocols before I show you why they matter. Stature, or height, is measured using a stadiometer, with subjects barefoot, heels together, and the head in a natural upright position, then recorded to the nearest 0.1 centimeter. Body mass can be assessed on calibrated scales in minimal clothing to the nearest 0.1 kilogram for precision, with pre- and post-training session measurements enabling sweat loss estimation for hydration monitoring if needed by some athletes. Segment lengths, including arm span and leg length, are measured with anthropometers for biomechanical analysis, while circumference measurements are traditionally taken using non-elastic tape at specific anatomical landmarks. The waist would be measured at the narrowest point or midway between iliac crest and lowest rib. The hip is measured at the greatest gluteal prominence, and similar with limb circumferences for muscle mass estimation. These require consistent positioning and tension application whilst measurements are taken. Skin fold thickness assessment utilizes professional-grade calibrated calipers and depends on the standardized protocol which is chosen to use. The most common method used in sports science is the Jackson and Pollock 7-site protocol, which includes right side measurement, proper pinch technique, and 1 to 2 second hold before reading, with the sum of skin folds from the 7 sites, including the chest, axilla, triceps, subscapular, suprailiac, abdomen and thigh taken. These measurements are applied to validated population-specific equations like Jackson and Pollock or Durnin and Womersley to estimate body density, then converted to body fat percentages. Best practice protocols emphasize measurement repeatability, including a minimum of 2 readings or 3 if discrepancy exceeds 5%, instrument calibration, standardized posture and breathing patterns. It would also be good practice to use trained measurers where possible to minimize inter-rater error. Lastly, we should acknowledge anthropometry's field-friendly advantages compared to laboratory gold standards like DEXA or hydrostatic weighing, both of which are highly accurate techniques used to measure body composition, bone mineral density, and fat distribution, but can often prove costly.
Right, here we go. We're going to do this in one take again with no edits. Why do elite swimmers have longer arm spans than average? Why are basketball players getting taller every decade? And how do sports scientists predict which 12-year-old might become an Olympic champion? The answer lies in anthropometry, the science of measuring the human body, and it's way more powerful than you might think. So hello and welcome to this high-level sports science lesson on anthropometry, the measurement system that's revolutionizing how we identify talent, design equipment, and optimize athletic performance. We've already looked at the basics for measurement and the standardized protocols. Now we can dive a little bit deeper. Here's what makes anthropometry so critical. It's not just about height and weight. We're talking about precise measurements of the body segments, proportions and dimensions that can predict sporting potential, match athletes to optimal positions, and even save lives through better protective equipment design. In the next 10 minutes, we'll explore how anthropometric databases help manufacturers design equipment that actually fits diverse body types, why your arm span might matter more than your height in certain sports, and how body proportions influence biomechanical efficiency and the real-world applications, each of which make anthropometry essential for sport ID or sport talent ID, position-specific selection, ergonomic optimization, and evidence-based sports science research. Whether you're preparing for your IB exams, coaching athletes, or just curious about the science behind sport and success, this is the anthropometry breakdown that you need. With that being said, let's dive in.
The objectives you should achieve by the end of this video include being able to outline how anthropometry has applications in sports and health science, and we've already looked at the first example with the basics on anthropometric measurement, so here we go with the best parts. Anthropometric profiles in general guide talent identification and position selection by matching physical characteristics to sport demands. For example, directing tall, long-limbed athletes toward basketball or volleyball, though practitioners, coaches, or scouts must avoid deterministic selection since trainability, motor skills, and late maturation patterns significantly influence eventual success. Therefore, requiring balanced assessment beyond early anthropometric screening, performance prediction utilizes established correlations such as longer tibial length associated with increased stride length in running, or longer limb levers enabling greater stroke length in rowing, while acknowledging the multifactorial nature of athletic success, where physiology, technical skill, motivation, and training quality interact with anthropometric advantages. This is exemplified by marathon success correlating with low body mass and high running economy, but requiring comprehensive aerobic development. Training prescription and weight management for sports performance include tracking body composition changes. This includes periodized nutrition strategies, maintaining optimal power to mass ratios in weight-sensitive sports like cycling and distance running, often monitored through circumference and skinfold measurements for athletes requiring mass gain, such as rugby forwards. Equipment and protective gear design relies on anthropometric databases to inform sizing specifications for helmets, padding, seating systems, and athletic apparel. This is demonstrated through cycling seat ergonomics optimization that accommodates population anthropometric variability for enhanced performance and safety outcomes. Anthropometry serves critical public health functions through growth monitoring, where standardized measurements track child development. This is achieved by using the World Health Organization growth charts and centile distributions to detect stunting or childhood obesity, enabling early nutritional interventions and healthcare referrals when growth patterns deviate from expected norms. Anthropometric screening is used in low-resource settings as a rapid, cost-effective method for identifying malnutrition in children and adults, while population surveillance utilizes anthropometric data to monitor trends in body size and obesity prevalence across demographic groups. This then informs public health policy development and prevention strategies, targeting population-wide health outcomes. Anthropometric measurement error arises from multiple sources, including inter-rater variability between different measurers, intra-rater inconsistency within the same measurer across sessions, client posture variations, hydration status fluctuations, anatomical landmark misplacement, and inadequate caliper calibration. This indicates the need for rigorous error minimization strategies through standardized protocols. Following guidelines or having trained measurers and repeated measurements with statistical analysis can help, as well as controlled pre-test conditions, including fasting status, time of day consistency, and hydration standardization. Reliability assessment utilizes quantitative metrics, including technical error of measurement, abbreviated as TEM, coefficient of variation, and intra-class correlation coefficient that sports science students must understand and report in practical investigations to demonstrate measurement precision and repeatability. Validity considerations acknowledge that skinfold-derived body composition estimates provide valid subcutaneous fat assessment in most populations, but demonstrate reduced accuracy in very obese, very lean athletes. Equation selection can also affect validity, whilst laboratory methods like DEXA offer superior validity but require cost-benefit analysis against field-friendly anthropometric alternatives. From a sports science internal assessment perspective, this emphasizes the importance of matching a suitable measurement method to the specific research question and population characteristics. Anthropometric testing requires comprehensive ethical protocols, including informed consent procedures that clearly explain measurement purposes and data usage, strict confidentiality maintenance to prevent misuse in selection decisions, and provision of same-sex assessors for sensitive measurements when requested to ensure participant comfort and dignity throughout the assessment process. Cultural competence becomes essential as body measurements may carry cultural sensitivities, requiring adapted protocols that respect diverse backgrounds, beliefs, and comfort levels while maintaining scientific rigor and standardization necessary for valid data collection. Equity considerations in talent identification emphasize avoiding exclusionary practices based solely on anthropometric criteria. Instead, this should incorporate examples such as motor skill assessments, psychological evaluations, and developmental measures to provide comprehensive athlete evaluation and identify potential successful ones. Now we've reached the interactive section of the video. we'll take a look at a hypothetical scenario for understanding the anthropometry and its applications in sport and health science. In this scenario, the National Rowing Federation are conducting a talent identification camp with 50 junior athletes aged 16 to 18. Head coach Sarah needs to use anthropometric assessment to identify athletes with optimal body proportions for different rowing disciplines and assign them to appropriate boat classes. Your task, using anthropometric principles, is to research and recommend the most suitable rowing discipline for each athlete and suggest one specific equipment modification needed based on their body measurements. Let's take a look at the scenario specifics. Pause the video as it appears on screen. If you're unfamiliar with the sport, research first and then construct your recommendations. Possible solutions and recommendations for this scenario can be seen on screen. This includes the recommended athlete discipline matching based on measurements, the rationale for each athlete and their specific potential equipment modifications. You can check your answers against the suggested ones now. If you came close to this with your suggestions and recommendations, well done. Let's move on to some formative assessment and exam technique. In this section, we'll have a go at some quick-fire multi-choice questions based on the anthropometry content which may appear in Paper 1A. Pause the video here, have a go and see how you get on. Let's take a look at the mark scheme so you can self-assess. Okay, good stuff. Next, let's have a go at some data-based short answer and extended response questions which may appear on Paper 1B and Paper 2. For possible short answer and extended response style IB exam questions, you may be required to outline anthropometric measurement protocols, evaluate the need for ensuring validity, and outline how anthropometry has applications in sports and health science. You may also need to use calculations and equations outlined in the sports science data booklet where necessary. On screen, you can see some short answer questions related to the video content. Use the command term key to carefully consider the requirements of each DBQ and ERQ question and construct your answers with the appropriate level of detail. Pause the video now and give them a go. Now let's take a look at the answers and see how you performed. Take a moment to pause the video here to reflect and self-assess. That is the end of the content on understanding anthropometry and its applications in sport and health science. We can finish by thinking about the following linking questions from the course guide between what we have covered in this video for topic B. B. 3.2. How does the use of anthropometry assist with the design of protective equipment? And topic C. C. 2.1. Can the ergonomic design of sporting implements aid in skills acquisition? If you found the anthropometry subtopic interesting, you may wish to pursue a scientific investigation in this area. On screen, you can see some sports science internal assessment ideas and key considerations you may wish to use to support with formulating a research question. To summarise, anthropometry systematically measures human body size, shape and proportions. It informs sport selection, performance analysis, equipment design and public health monitoring. Practical sessions require rigorous measurement protocols, awareness of measurement error and ethical handling of data. Use anthropometric results alongside physiological, technical and psychological assessments to form holistic athlete and health profiles.
And there it is, anthropometry in action. You now know how sports scientists use body measurements to identify talent, match athletes to sports, and design equipment that fits. But here's what every coach and athlete does need to understand. Your body proportions are your starting point, but your connective tissue structure determines your endpoint. That's why our next video is crucial. We're exploring how bones provide the framework, how ligaments and tendons create stability and power transfer, and how cartilage protects joints, and why different joint structures allow specific types of movement. It's the anatomical foundation that makes anthropometric advantages actually matter. If you're serious about understanding sports science and you keep crushing your sports science exams, you need both pieces of the puzzle to solve this. Subscribe for the full video series, like the video if it's helped, and drop any questions in the comments. I read every single one. I'll see you next time when we connect structure to function. Let's keep building this knowledge one video at a time.